Rams house, welcome into a brand new episode of the Rams Report. Guys, on today's show, we are going to be taking a shot at predicting the Los Angeles Rams 53-man roster. This has got to be finalized by Sunday evening, so we're a few days out. Obviously, they still got a preseason game to play here on Thursday. But today, on our new episode of the Rams Report, presented as always by Prize Picks, we're going to take our best chance at predicting the 53. But before we do that, I got to let you know about some major news, or not major news, but several pieces of news that majorly impact this roster projection, because we've got roster news from yesterday. We put out a short. We're always putting out shorts covering all the latest and greatest in Rams news, so make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date on everything you need. But Daniel Rickert, he was waived yesterday with an injury settlement by the Los Angeles Rams, the outside linebacker that they signed, slash kind of edge defender from Virginia. Before that, he was at Tennessee Tech, not JUCO, but FCS product. That's the word I'm looking for. Keir Thomas and Zech Mcphearson, or Zach McPherson, excuse me. It's spelled Zech, but it's pronounced Zach. Keir and Zach are both placed on the injured reserve. So those guys, their seasons are unfortunately done. It's really disappointing for Keir Thomas, especially after he was brought back this season because of how well he looked coming off of a year where he was shut down in August and put on injured reserve. So back-to-back seasons of being shut down in August for Keir Thomas. Devean Deal, he got signed today, or not today, yesterday by the Rams out of TCU, an undrafted free agent. And then Steven Gilmore, the younger brother of Stephon Gilmore, has also joined the Rams. So those are the roster news you need to know. Corner and outside linebacker there. I'm not sure if I specified, but obviously that all has an impact on the roster projection. So I just wanted you guys to be up to date before we jump right into it here with our quarterbacks. This is the room. Should not be a surprise at all. Stafford obviously is your QB1. Stetson and Tai, you could flip them if you want, but what I do know almost 100% is the Rams are going to keep 3 QBs this year. I would be genuinely shocked if they did anything to get rid of Stetson Bennett. They're definitely not going to release him, and I'd be very surprised if they traded him. I don't think, and we talked about this yesterday, I don't think there's a massive trade market for Stetson Bennett. I don't think anyone's going to be banging down your door to give up premium draft capital or even more than like a 5th round pick to trade for Stetson Bennett. He's just never played in the regular season as good as he's looked in the preseason. He's also 28 years old at this point and on an expiring contract. So even though you'd have him for a cheap year of maybe a solid backup, someone you could potentially take a chance at starting if you're like Atlanta, because who knows who's going to start in Atlanta this season? Not me, guys. However, I don't know that that's the best move for this Rams team. Maybe it's the best move for some other teams to trade a 5th round pick to try to pick up Stetson. But if I'm the Rams, I want a deep QB room this year, and I want a guy like Stetson just in case we need him. Even if you do feel like Tai is the better option in a pinch, and I do, I still want Stetson around. Absolutely. I don't think they should move on from him. Let's talk about the running back room. Another one that I don't feel like is too controversial. There's one question mark here. Who makes it as the 4th back? I'm going Jarquez Hunter. I liked what we saw in preseason week 2 a lot out of Jarquez. I think he has earned the 4th spot on this running back depth chart, behind Ronnie Rivers, Corum, and Williams. That does mean we would be saying goodbye to both Dean Connors and Jordan Waters. I do think Dean Connors could be a guy that finds himself on the practice squad. I do think Jordan Waters as well. I don't think they're going to practice squad both of these running backs, but I could easily see them putting one of those 2 guys on the P squad to keep him around. As of right now, they both look great, but I like what Dean brings as a receiver. I think that's something kind of unique. We have guys with some receiving traits, but it feels like he is really capable of taking that kind of next step towards being a quality receiving back if he's able to continue developing. I like that. I would keep around Dean Connors on the practice squad, but neither of these guys will make the 53. We're going to keep rolling through this entire Rams roster, project every position's final depth chart and what this 53 is going to look like. But before we do that, I got to let you guys know about the sponsor of today's video, and that is America's #1 sports picks app, our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, if you've ever tuned into the Rams Report before, I know you know all about Prize Picks, but if it's your first time tuning in, it is a great time to cash in on your ball knowledge now that the football season is right around the corner. Guys, Prize Picks is super easy to use. All you have to do is pick more or less on a few players' stats, and you are locking in your lineup. And with the social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your buddies. You can copy lineups with a single click that you see in the social feed. It's just like any other social media platform. And you can even drop a follow on me, guys. My username is Jackson Durham, just my first and last name. And you can see all the lineups I've been placing lately. You can tail them. You can fade them. Whatever you want to do. This is one I've got rolling for week 1 of this season. I will say, I put Darnold in there and CMC in there. Forgive me, but it's a discounted pick for Darnold. All he's got to do is throw for 1 yard. So I think he's going to do that, but I've also got Stafford and I've got Nakua in there. So you guys can tail, you can fade, whatever you want to do. Just do it with our friends over at Prize Picks. And if you're a brand new user, make sure you take advantage of the new user offer. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups. If you win, just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right. Prize Picks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time to join, lock in, and win that first lineup. Let's go to HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. Thank you, Prize Picks, for sponsoring today's video. Let's keep talking about this roster. Receiver room, guys, I think they only keep 6 guys here. I think they, obviously, Puka, Devontae, Jordan Whittington, not a question for me. It really, the only question mark guy of these 6 guys would have been to some degree Xavier Smith, but that became not a question to me when in week 2, the Rams went out and signed Alex Bachman and had him return punts in the preseason, because that told me, okay, we like what we saw from Xavier Smith. We don't want to get him hurt on punt return duty. He's our punt returner for the regular season. We need a guy to finish out the preseason as our punt returner, and that's Alex Bachman's role. He's also obviously rotating in at receiver. So where does that leave us here? These 4 guys are getting released, plus Alex Bachman, who I should have included on this. Tyler Scott, I have him on the practice squad. Brennan Presley, I have getting released. Mario Williams and True Edwards, I don't think hold on this final roster. True Edwards was a practice squad guy last year. Maybe they bring him back ultimately, but I do think it's probably just going to be Tyler Scott, who has shown a lot of flashes in the preseason, almost had that incredible deep catch from Stetson Bennett, just a little bit overthrown on Stetson's part, and then did a phenomenal layout diving grab. It was a great throw from Stetson. It's getting a lot of attention, the throw from Stetson, but I feel like Tyler Scott's effort to make that catch was just as impressive to me. I think he's shown a lot that is worthy of having a practice squad spot. Tight end depth chart, there's no questions here. This is what it's going to look like. These are the 5 guys that are going to be your 5 tight ends. This has been the tight end room since, the day we drafted Max Clare. Before that, it was probably 4. You draft Max Clare, you're keeping 5. Obviously, Davis Allen's not going anywhere. Sean McVay has made it very clear what a big part of the offense he was going to be. And I think prior to that point, he might have been the only question mark. And even he was a soft question mark in this tight end room. The Rams love to be deep at tight end, and they are deep at tight end once again this season. That means Mark Redmond, Dan Valeri, and Rohan Jones are not going to make this final roster. I do see Redmond as a practice squad candidate. He's shown some flashes in these preseason games. He's been pretty high volume, especially in the first one. Has nice hands. I think there is a chance that Redmond holds on to this roster. I like what Valeri on paper would have brought to this team. We talked about him a lot in the lead up to when they first signed these undrafted free agents. But all in, Valeri hasn't really brought that kind of flashy athleticism that I thought he was going to bring to this team. He's a former converted quarterback. He played QB in his past at Michigan and at Syracuse as well, before then going on to transition to tight end. But I just wasn't blown away. And I had high hopes for Rohan Jones out of Arkansas as well, but we haven't seen him at all in the preseason, so not much expectation that he would stick on this roster. Next up, offensive line. This is where I'll say right now, I am the least confident in my offensive line projection of any projection on this team. I'm going to caveat that right now. And the reason why is because I just don't know how this team is going to handle the potential suspension of Alaric Jackson. if it's coming down the line, you'd obviously want to keep more depth at left tackle. You'd obviously want to keep more depth at left tackle. In fact, I think I actually went back and forth so much, I left AJ Arcuri in this graphic and then had him as a release to just kind of perfectly demonstrate how unsure I am about the way this is going to go. Arcuri is my biggest question mark. I have him on here, but I do believe that Arcuri could end up being on the chopping block here. He didn't play in preseason week 1, which left me going, okay, is Arcuri going to be safe on this roster? Kind of seems like that's what Sean's indicating here. And then you get to week 2 and Arcuri does play. And so then it's like, okay, maybe not as safe as we initially thought. But let's say 2 days from now, Alaric Jackson's suspended. Arcuri's probably holding on this roster. You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those things where Bill Murray, I feel like, is a practice squad guy. Blasky, I feel like, is a practice squad guy. He impressed me a lot in the preseason. I want him kept around this team if we can. I don't think you need to keep him on the 53, but I want him around the Rams. Dylan McMahon, I don't think is going to hold. Blake Hance, I don't think is going to hold. And I don't think definitely Bryce Henderson is not going to hold. But AJ Arcuri is that one question mark for me of like, if you do get a suspension here, it would immediately be time to keep AJ Arcuri. You can't afford to let him go in that situation, because at that point, you would be pushing Keegan Trost in, and Trost is dealing with a hamstring injury right now. We don't know if Trost will be ready to go by week 1 of this season. So you can't let Arcuri go in the event that A.J. Jackson is suspended. Moving on. Let's talk about the pass rushers. This is another room where there's really one question. Is Wesley Bailey going to make this team? And I am going to say yes. I like what we've seen from Wesley Bailey a lot. And I don't think he should be a practice squad candidate. Because remember, anybody who hits that practice squad can be signed by other teams. It's what happened to Willie Lampkin, the center, a couple seasons ago. Just last season, really. Wesley Bailey, you should not let him go. I want him on the 53. I do not want him picked off of our practice squad by the Eagles or something like that. At the end of the day, a guy goes out there and gets 10 pressures in his second preseason appearance. I don't really care that he only got 0 in his first outing. I care that there is the high-end potential here for this guy to deliver those kind of games. Is he going to do that in the regular season? No. Is he going to do that this season? No. Is he probably going to play a role at all this season? No. But he clearly has elite athletic traits. 9.83 out of 10 RAS score. I think he deserves a spot on this roster. Rest of the room is very obvious. You go out and get Myles Garrett. Of course, he's going to be the anchor point for you. Poona Ford, Kobe Turner, Byron Young. These guys are superstars. Their spots are locked. Braden Fisk, Tyler Davis, beyond them. Tim Keenan, small question mark. He hasn't honestly been super impressive in the preseason, but I do think the Rams will give him a chance, and they will release the following guys. Keir Thomas, he's on the IR. So they may not release him from the IR. They could just keep him on IR all season. That's what they did last year. But he's not going to count against the 53. So I've got him in there. Tommen Fox, Daryl Peterson, Peyton Zadroik, and Devean Deal. All I have getting released from this team. I think all those guys were ultimately mostly camp bodies at the end of the day. Next, let's talk a linebacker depth chart. I only see 4 linebackers on this team. Nate Landman, Omar Spades, Sean Dolac, Grant Stewart. Stewart and Dolac, good night, will play primarily special teams roles for this team. Something that's exactly what Stewart was brought into this team to do. Those guys will rotate a little bit as well with Landman and Spades, who are your starters, but their primary role is going to be what they bring on the special teams front. That's exactly why you go out and get a Grant Stewart. He is a career special teams animal. I mean, he's Bubba Ventrone's guy. That's exactly why he was signed. Sean Dolac, he's been a special teams star as well in his career. Elias Neal and Nakai Hill-Green will not make this roster. I'm not going to lie. I really wanted it for Nakai Hill-Green. I thought the Alabama linebacker showed some interesting things at Alabama. He's a really solid coverage guy, but the tackling has been just not NFL caliber in his first couple preseason outings, and I don't think that's going to be able to save him from getting cut here. Maybe a practice squad guy, but I don't even know that he's going to hold one of those spots over some of these other guys who are just kind of better candidates to be on the P squad. And now let's talk about our defensive backs here, guys. I don't think there's going to be a ton of huge surprises in this room. Obviously, it's a room that got overhauled pretty heavily this offseason when you kind of look at corners and safeties together, with safeties more being the stagnant group. Corner room, I think we're keeping 4, 5 guys, depending on how you, or really 6, I guess, depending on how you govern Quentin Lake. You could see him as a corner. That's primarily where I think he's going to play, in and out of the nickel with Trent McDuffie this season. And then as far as the safeties go, I think you keep 3 or 4 of those guys, again, depending on how you govern Quentin Lake's role on this team. Cam Kinchins, Cam Curl, and Jalen McCullough. But just know Quentin Lake's going to be all over this defense, as he normally is. Guys that don't make it, and I know some of you are already looking for his name. I don't see Alex Johnson, Nizer Forcurin, Tanner Ingles, Zech Mcphearson, Alzillian Hamilton, or Alex Cook making this roster at the end of the day. I just don't think there's going to be enough spots for those guys. I think Hamilton and Cook could be practice squad guys, the Birmingham Stallion in Cook, and then the former Fresno State corner in Alzillian Hamilton. But I don't see them making the final 53. Lastly, special teams depth chart. No big surprises here. Harrison Mevis, Ethan Evans, Jack Bouwmeester. He should probably stick around just because he doesn't count against the 53 as an international pathway exemption. Joe Cardona is the highest paid long snapper in the NFL. So, yeah, he's going to be here. And then Jordan Whittington and Xavier Smith will be your kick and punt returners, with Rivers and Corum as backup kick returners. And they'll be back there as well, holding those duties down. So, again, that is going to do it for the 53 for us, guys. Let me know what we think of my 53-man roster projection in the comments down below. And as always, make sure you're locked in by subscribing to the Rams Report. We keep you covered on everything you need around the Rams, whether it's roster projections, live streams every game day. We are live on Thursday. It's going to be 9 o'clock p.m. here in Dallas, 7 o'clock for you guys out in LA. But we're going to be here until the finish of that one all the way through for y'all. So come watch with us and make sure you're subscribed.